brother-in-law, Sunji Wong, was actually the first Asian on this local city council. He was elected in the mid
1972, I think.
72, yeah. And shortly after that, of course, we have Bob Matsui. He went through the local politics. And after that, my predecessor, Tom Chin, served on the local school board for 12 years, and then 9 more years on the city council. And after all those years, he thought that was enough. And I happened to be on his campaign committee for quite a few years, and he asked if I would consider running for the office, and that's how I got into politics. I never had any intention of getting into, but that's what happened.
Well, I think that makes the best leaders. Our best leaders are people who are there to help and make change, and they're not there because I think the best leaders in our history did it because there was no other choice, and they felt, I'm going to do it. And I just thank you for that, and all the, like you're saying, the people that went out, because that wasn't, the norm of the times.
Yeah. Well, let me make sure. I want to let you know that it wasn't the money.
I know it wasn't.
We were being paid a big sum of $20 a meeting, $100 maximum per month. And those meetings were long.
Can you tell me some of the worst things that people called you? Is there anything you remember that just sticks out in your mind that somebody, you don't have to say names, just in general, like what? After all I do.
Yeah, I don't recall anybody calling me bad names face to face, but I'm not sure if you recall, but in
91,
92, my home was firebombed. So rather than saying bad words of me, well, someone took it upon themselves to do more than that. And,
what do you think was that led up to that?
There was a lot of hatred toward minorities back then, and this is just part of it. My home was not the only one that was firebombed. The perpetrator who did it actually threw a firebomb at the NAACP, which is African American. He threw a firebomb in the JACL office, which is Japanese. They threw a firebomb at the Jewish temple, yeah, on Riverside. But my home was the only one that was private residence, and so that differed from the other three. It was scary because we just didn't know who, why, and when.
That's why I just thanked you, Mr. E, because you knew going in, people knew going in, this is not right. People knew you were going to you're going against the world to make change, and it wasn't for money. And that's why you made a great person for leadership. I didn't call you a politician. You were our leadership. So
yeah,
okay.
I still don't consider myself a politician.
You're not. Don's a little bit of a politician. No.
That's because
Firebomb.
I really hired in local politics. And one of the reasons being that, of course, is that I'm a businessman, and I'm a registered Democrat. I say a registered Democrat, but I don't agree with everything that the Democrats are doing. At the same time, I don't agree with everything the Republicans do. So you might call me a independent. I'm very, very conservative as far as fiscal matters, and I'm a little more liberal as far as the social issues.
And I think that's really important for people to identify. I think one of the things in our social times right now, because I was a social science teacher and a counselor, and it doesn't have to be all or nothing. And
Yeah.
not everybody's opinions are always concrete, but people should be allowed opinions. And we shouldn't go back and erase history, but look at history and figure out where we came, you know, because that's one of the stories that I'm trying to capture is, I mean, the Asian hate didn't just start. People are just like, Asian hate is no, listen, Asian hate's been around a long time. Now we're gonna address it with through our abilities, but it's been around for is this a perfect example? Firebombing your house.
Right.
Well, what do you think?
Kind of woke me up, and at the time it happened, I said, what the hell am I doing here? But after I sat back and thought about it, I said, well, you know, they're not going to intimidate me. I would continue on because, you know, what they're looking for, of course, you just step back and get the hell out of there, let somebody else do it. But I wasn't that person.
They're testing your leadership.
Mhm.
Wow, that's a great story. Thank you for your sacrifice. Um, what do you think of today's situation as far as um, just kind of the Asian movement? I think that's one thing. It's starting to come to light about they now categorize Asians into everything. But there's so many different cultures that came. Um, do you have any thoughts on what you're hearing about or you watch on TV right now from your history and your perspective?
You know, when I retired from, well, I should say, when I left politics with this county board of supervisor, I said that's it. I I more or less stayed out of politics. It's but I try to keep track of what's going on, and yeah, there's just this thing about hatred for Asians because of the pandemic thing. It's gone too far.
Yeah.
Blaming us. Yes.
So I have a better question. I want to know how'd you become the mayor? Why?
Oh,
Yeah.
I'll give you a little detail. Not too many people know it. It's,
Okay. I feel blessed then. I feel this is good. I want to hear things that not too many people know.
I told you that you know I enjoyed it. That I'm not a big time politician who wants to keep going up the ladder, but I was on the board for 8 years at the time, so I knew
Council,
what that
city council.
on the city council on it, and so I knew my colleagues fairly well. Uh, I was the vice mayor in it was the 1999, I guess it was. And who was the mayor? Was
Joe
Cerna.
Cerna.
And the election was coming up the next year. So people were scrambling around to run for mayor. And so I had several colleagues. Robbie Waters, remember Robbie Waters? He wanted to run for the mayor against Cerna. So he took me aside one day and said, hey, Yi, would you support me to be the vice mayor next year? And I says, why? He says, well, I want to be vice mayor so I can run against Cerna. I could use that title. I says, well, let me think about it, but why don't I get a couple of other colleagues and we'll have a drink after council meeting at Frank Fat's. So I had two more colleagues join me and had a drink with Robbie Waters. And they were, it's got to the point where I can't remember names anymore, but the two, we all sat down, talked about it, and I said, listen, the reason I wanted you people to come together is because Robbie Waters wants to be the vice mayor next year, and if you people will agree, I would certainly support it. The other two members looked at me and says, hey, wait a minute. We want to run for the mayor too. So now I got two more colleagues that want to run for the mayor along with Robbie Waters. And so they don't want each other to be the vice mayor. And I says, they looked at me and I says, I'm not going to run for the mayor. So they says, well, then you're going to be the vice mayor because we don't want each of us to be it. So I said, okay. So the next year it came around and I was selected as the vice mayor. Somewhere along toward the end of that year, before the election, unbeknownst to everyone, of course, Mayor Cerna passed away. And it happened on the particular day that if it was the day before, they would have had an election. If it happened on that day, there was no election. So which means when there's no election, then the city council has to select somebody to become the mayor. And since I was the vice mayor, it kind of fell in my lap. Okay, they selected me to act as the mayor. And so that's the story. Now, I don't get a chance to tell that to everyone.
Dad, didn't you talk to Joe Cerna when he was sick though? Because I thought part of it was that Joe Cerna, you promised him that you wouldn't run for mayor.
Oh.
And so
yeah,
it was your word that kept you from running for mayor.
Well, I said I was not going to run for mayor, but once he passed away, then everyone started telling me that, hey, since Mayor Cerna wasn't there, you should run. And I said, no way. I told my colleagues that I was not going to run for mayor. And I kept my word. Robbie Waters, in fact, came to me personally, asked me to run, even though he, you know, he knew I gave my word. And I said, no, you know, that's politics. Once you tell someone, you got to stick with it. You don't tell someone one thing and then do something else. That's one of the things you have to understand when you're in politics.
Is your reputation.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, you have an amazing reputation. So I love that story. So you became mayor.
Yes.
I one of the biggest things I think during my lifetime was the Sacramento Kings coming here. And I remember when my mom was joking about the Sacramento Kings coming, and we had this little guy in Manners, little Daryl Yee, he was my age, and we were all small. And my mom joked, maybe you play for the Kings someday. Can you tell me a little bit about your experience of having the Kings move to Sacramento?
Yeah, this goes back quite a few years. And